Up in 3, 2, 1. What up, folks? Once again, it is indeed your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. Very busy news day. There's no denying today is a very busy news day. One case we're kind of familiar with, we're absolutely familiar with, and the other is yet another sad situation in one of America's educational institutions. We're talking about before we get into one, we're just talking about Perry, Iowa. Apparently, as of this morning, there was a mass casualty event. There was a mass casualty event in Perry, Iowa, a school I believe 15, 20 minutes outside of Des Moines, Iowa. So somewhat of a rural area, but nevertheless, a loss of children is a loss of children. So first question we're going to be talking about is there anything we can do in America to curtail the simple amount of mass shootings we have in this country? Because this isn't something that happens throughout most other countries in the world. What happened in Perry, Iowa in this country today, where students lost their lives, that doesn't happen in most other countries, particularly first world countries. In America, it happens more often than we can remember. Why is that? That's the first question. Second question, we've been talking about the 14th Amendment and former President Trump for several days now. Want to ask you folks something a little bit off culture. Does that even apply to President Trump? Because his side of the aisle is stating that the 14th Amendment was never even meant to address a president at all. Want to give you a quick quote by former Speaker of the House, Newt Gingrich, who states the 14th Amendment should not apply in modern situations. This is an actual quote from Newt Gingrich. Remember, he ran for president before himself. The 14th Amendment referred to basically people who had risen in rebellion and fought a war for 4 years. There's no point at which it references anybody today. Is that all it takes? So, two questions we're going to be talking about today. Is there anything we can do to stop the amount of children losing their lives while simply going to get an education? And does the 14th Amendment even apply to Trump at all? You know how the program works. It is, always will be, MAGA friendly in its entirety. MAGA are always my preferred guests. Nevertheless, liberals are welcome as well. What do we say? We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary, so if you disagree with the host, nobody gives a damn. Remember, we are not here to tell you what you want to hear. It's all about what you have to say. Looking straight in the comments, come on, President Trump is innocent. Well, and that came from, looks like Frank Marino in the comments. Whether Trump is innocent or allegedly guilty of violating the 14th Amendment, that's not really the story here. The story is, does it apply to him at all? Can he even be charged with it? We're not talking about whether he did it or he didn't. His side is filing in court that it doesn't even apply to the president, meaning he cannot be found guilty of something that doesn't apply to him under any circumstance. In other words, even if he did try to commit an act of insurrection, because this wasn't designed to be tailored to the president, you can't use it against him at all anyway. How do you feel about that? Because that's what he's filing in court. Going straight to the box, we'll start out with American Papa Tom. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. 14th Amendment. American Papa, good morning or good afternoon.
Good morning.
Hey.
Yeah, it's afternoon.
Depends on where you're at. It's not afternoon in the Mountain Coast or the Pacific.
I'm in the middle of it.
So am I.
I'm out here in Missouri.
Okay, fair enough.
Hey, I'm a victim of school violence, a witness of a school shooting back in the 70s. And at the same time, they closed a junior high over the incident that happened on our graduation day of my 8th grade graduation.
Wow.
And thank God that these two men that or two young students that were there at our school, they saved everybody that day.
So there were no lives lost.
That was back in the 70s.
Yeah, there were no lives lost.
Here in 2014, it came full circle with my own child inside a school classroom. And coming up actually in a few days, it will be on the 10th of January for my daughter.
Thank you, lady. Wait, hold on. Were there any lives lost in either event? The one you experienced in the 70s or the one your child was involved in?
No, thank God. In my experience, it was school violence of the gangs, and then later on, it escalated to the high school, and I witnessed a school shooting outside the school grounds, shooting on our homecoming day, and nobody was unalived, and thank God. And then my daughter's situation back in 2014, a kid ran up into the school with a shotgun and shot another student right in front of my daughter.
And they survived a shotgun blast, a kid?
Yes, sir. Well, thank God. I'm going to tell you right now, Tim. Thank God that kid didn't know what he had loaded inside the weapon because he had burnt shot.
Okay.
But he had 30 rounds of plug sitting in his pockets ready to take on.
Damn.
And after the two shots were taken at this one student, he's still suffering from lead poisoning and stuff throughout the years.
So let me ask you, in regards to situations like this, because obviously we just had one today in Perry, Iowa. How can we stop this? This seems to be a uniquely American problem. What can we do? You've experienced two yourself. What can we do to stop this?
We need to harden our entries to our schools. Every single school.
We haven't done that already?
Single school. And I'm gonna turn my camera on for 1 second because I have something. I'm a what they call a veteran against school shootings. Okay.
Go ahead. Do it.
That started with the day that my daughter was involved.
Wait a minute. My question to you, you said to harden the entry to schools. Haven't we done that already? You can't get in any school without being buzzed in. All the doors are locked on most American schools. Have we not already hardened them?
Yeah, we need to harden. Well, in my experience, we ended up hardening our entry to our school. We had one entrance. We had like a 10, 12-foot fence all the way around our school. Okay? And we had one entrance to our school. All right? And they searched everyone. We weren't allowed to have backpacks. And this is when backpacks first started, right? Okay. We weren't allowed to have backpacks. We had to carry our books inside the gate. We weren't allowed to have a purse. We weren't allowed to have anything, man. But school supplies. But here's the ticket, right? This right here is a see-through backpack.
So you're suggesting all children wear see-through backpacks?
Absolutely.
Okay. But when you say harden entry to schools, give me some suggestions you think that every school in America should go through in effort to harden them, because Perry, Iowa is not an inner city urban school. It happens in urban areas, it happens in rural areas, something that you think every school should go through in order to harden it. What say you?
I say we need metal detectors.
Okay.
And I don't care. And people say, what the problem is with metal detectors is it takes so long to get the kids into school. Right. And whatever, right?
Okay.
I'd rather spend an extra hour getting our kids into school than spend an hour in a graveyard.
Now, in reference to your suggestion of having a clear backpack, Duke Williams in the comments made an excellent point. He stated that a backpack isn't hiding an AR-15. A lot of these students are coming to school with long rifles. So
Absolutely. Well, that's what happened to my daughter. The kid realized the resource officer wasn't on campus because he was snowed in, right? And he was snowed in on the mountain.
okay,
And with that said, you know, he left school grounds, ran home, block and a half, came back with a shotgun that belonged to his brother. Okay, and he was like 16 years old, and came running back into school. And then ran into the science building.
yeah.
And
So it sounded like something he had been wanting to do for the longest, and once he saw the opportunity.
I'll tell you, he was being bullied, right?
Yeah.
And they were after his, what they call, he was redhead, ginger, whatever you want to call him, but that's what he was.
But wouldn't we refer to a child that is being bullied, that runs home and gets a firearm to take care of the bully? They're calling them names. According to a lot of folks, according to a lot of folks, the kid is just a snowflake. He should be able to handle the name calling, right?
Yeah, it just, you know, it was a sad situation, but it didn't mean he had to do what he did. And then at the same time, he got a hold of a weapon that didn't belong to him. And I've been after, and so have a lot of people still to this day. And it was what now? This year will be 10 years, right? Here in a few days, it'll be 10 years ago. We're still after the DA to file charges against the
Wow.
Wow. At his house. His brother didn't even live at the house. He left his weapon.
Yeah, that's
open, and you know, I mean, he should be accounted for.
I don't disagree with that, but I do got to move it on. Unfortunately, I do appreciate you coming on, but hardening schools, I do agree. There's there's a little bit of work to be done. I don't know if that alone will stop it, but I appreciate you coming on.
Put some more resource officers out.
Absolute, appreciate it. All right, looking in the comments, what about the notion that hardening schools, for you folks out there, what about the notion that hardening schools could solve this? Do you believe we could reduce, or better yet, eliminate, that's the effort, is to eliminate this shit? Do you think we could eliminate it by simply hardening schools? Now, I've seen someone in the comments, I always have no issue with folks who push back. What do I always say? Free speech reigns supreme here. You don't have to agree with yours truly. If you want to tear me a new one, you're always welcome to do so. I don't hide opposing comments. Someone in the comments stated that these events happening in American schools is not uniquely an American problem. I was engaging in with the last caller, so I can't remember the name, but the person kept. But anyway, the individual suggested that this happens everywhere. Is there anybody else that believes that? That what is going on in our educational institutions here is happening, quote unquote, everywhere? Do people actually believe that? That you could go to school in Australia, or you could go to school in the UK, you could go to school in Italy and still get a firearm taking the life of your child? Is that happening everywhere, really? Am I that far off the mark? I like to say, there's no way in hell I'd buy that. But I'll look in there for your comments. Looking in the comments, they don't do that in North Korea. I bet they don't. But they don't do it in South Korea either. The idea that is happening everywhere is a ridiculous cop-out. A ridiculous cop-out. To the point where I don't want to change the way I'm acting. So to downplay what I'm doing, where everybody does it, that's not true. That is absolutely not true. There are shootings, but it's a uniquely American issue. I would submit to you that most first world countries don't even have a fraction of the amount of mass casualty events in this country. Now, I get that America has a much larger population than any other first world country, but I would submit to you, you could take the whole, literally the whole of Western Europe, which combined does have a population similar to the United States. So you factor in all the countries of Western Europe, and compared to all of those countries together, they don't come close to the mass casualty events of America. Not even remotely close. I'm talking about everybody, factoring in everybody from Norway to Spain to Italy to the UK, Germany. You put all of those countries together, and they don't come close to the mass casualty events of America. It's not even in the same universe. Happens everywhere. Looking in the box, we'll keep it going. 2 questions we're asking. How can we stop these mass casualty events? In a sidebar, the Trump administration, or his legal team right now, he doesn't have an administration, but his legal team is saying that the 14th Amendment does not even apply to a president. So in other words, they're charging him with something that doesn't even apply to him. In other words, it doesn't matter if he's guilty or innocent. The 14th Amendment doesn't apply to a sitting president. Do you agree with him? Because that's what he's presenting in court. He's not saying he's innocent. He said it doesn't even apply to me. Going to the box, Razor Buzz. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. I'm sure you've been listening in. I'll give you the floor. Good afternoon, Razor.
First of all, the reason I can watch your program, and I love your program because of the pattern you have, where people can tell, whatever they want to tell, whichever side they are.
Appreciate it.
The only reason I can today is because I'm home with COVID. So.
Oh, sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that, man.
I was fully vaccinated, and it was like a very easy thing to do.
Wait a minute. You've been jabbed and you're still alive? That ain't what I heard. I heard that if you get that vax, you're supposed to no longer be here. What happened?
I don't know. I just kind of beat the odds, I guess.
Same here. What you been boosted?
Oh yeah, I've been boosted 5 times total.
You're supposed to be dead. You are supposed to be dead.
Some people say I'm not even a human.
Oh my God. Hey, have you ever attracted a magnet in your life? Walked past a magnet and it just stuck to your shoulder?
Oh man, sometimes I fly over it.
All right, go ahead and state your point. Enough of the humor. Go ahead and state your point.
Okay. With regards to the 14th Amendment, that's quite simple. It says if you took an oath and you broke it, this is what happens. It doesn't talk about your office, how high you are, how low you are you a doorman or are you the president of the world? It says if you took oath and you broke it.
Well, let me interrupt you now, because I've for the purpose of this live, I actually wrote down as much of this as I could. In regards to the 14th Amendment, Article 3, because you said it doesn't talk about the office, it does say no person shall be a senator or representative in Congress or elector of president and vice president or hold any office, civil or military, under the U.S. or under any state who having previously taken an oath as a member of Congress or as an officer of the United States or as a member of any state, legislator or executive or judicial officer of any state to support the Constitution of the U.S. shall have engaged in an insurrection. Somewhere in there, Trump is saying it does not apply to me.
It doesn't. It tells you what offices you can't take. It doesn't tell you what office you had and swore oath.
Yeah.
That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Okay? It says you can't be this, you can't be this, you can't be this because you took an oath.
Right.
And you broke it. That's my opinion.
So does your opinion also suggest that Trump is guilty of violating the 14th Amendment?
Guilty as sin, buddy. Guilty as sin.
Wow.
Okay?
Okay.
Listen, a person, we know all politicians lie, okay?
But he's not a typical politician.
Hold on though. So, if you are aspiring to that huge high office, at least you have to be smart enough to have hidden all your lies. This guy just bald-faced lies looks into your eyes. Okay? So
But wait a minute, Razor. Wait a minute, Razor. In the comments, Steve Vogel is saying there was no insurrection at all. So are we holding the man guilty for something that never took place?
we talked about this the last time I was in your live, and the House of Representatives tried him and found him guilty.
Yeah.
Took it to the Senate, and Senate didn't sentence him.
Yeah.
That is exactly how that works. It's not like, oh, he was not found guilty. His guilt was proven. Evidence was presented to the House of Representatives. Our representatives voted, just like a jury, in their own way, and said, yes, please take this to the Senate of the United States so he can be sentenced. And the Senate of the United States said, oh, no, we are not going to sentence you to anything. Go on and have a good life.
Now that did happen. I want to. It actually, Congress actually under Nancy Pelosi did find that he was guilty of. But the reason why I'm bringing this up because Sparky in the comments says misinformation. If folks, if you believe you see something that misinformation applies, don't just type misinformation. What is wrong with what he said? I don't. Now personally, I'm not hearing any misinformation in what he just stated. Congress did impeach and find the guy guilty. And as he stated, the Senate under Mitch McConnell did not sentence him. In fact, Mitch McConnell recommended that Jack Smith do what he's doing now. I believe when Mitch McConnell, who's over the Senate, I think he said something like, there is nothing that Trump did that he can't be held accountable for once he's out of office. So now that Jack Smith is going after Trump, people are saying, no, that's the Congress's job. I don't know if you can have it both ways, but Congress went after him and folks said, no, this is something you're supposed to do when he's, you're supposed to charge him criminally. Now that they're charging him criminally, people, no, Congress is supposed to do it. I don't know, but I don't think what you're saying, Razor, is misinformation. I do believe that's what happened.
Well, I also added that that's my opinion. Okay.
Right.
Now about the school shootings.
Right.
I am a pew owner. I have a bunch of hand ones, bunch of long barrel ones, shotguns, whatnot.
Some would say you the problem. How do you respond to liberals that might say you the problem?
No, I'm not, and I'll tell you why. The reason I'm not the problem is the minute our politicians have the guts to protect the lives of our children and pass a law that everyone has to give them up, I will run to a place where they are giving them up and dump all my stuff there.
Wow.
Okay? I understand why the Second Amendment was made. And in the immortal words of Jim Jeffries, it made a lot of sense when it was just muskets.
Yeah, some say that.
You're gonna take your AR-15 against the U.S. Army?
I hear I get the humor. I hear the tyranny argument all the time, and I've said the same things. But at the end of the day, how can we stop it? I do got to move it on. But if we want to stop for children losing their lives while simply getting an education, what would you recommend?
I will make one. I'll give one thing, and then I'll go out. Okay? Sure. Our soldiers are willing to give their lives to protect our country and our children. Mm-hmm. However, our politicians haven't grown a pair enough to give up a job for it. And that really pisses me off. Okay? They should grow a pair and vote these things out, and I will gladly be in the front of the line giving up mine, even though I can't afford giving them up. In other words, I gave up a big part of my income to purchase them. So
you do believe the way to you do believe the way to save children's lives at school is for our politicians to simply get rid of all of the firearms in this country?
Anything above what do you call them? The ones that work with CO2.
Air guns.
Yeah, air guns.
All right.
Everything else, we don't need them. Okay?
All right, you get your statement's controversial.
It's not worth one child's life. The pleasure of having it is not worth one child's life. However, I'm not going to sit here without it while my neighbor piles them up and looks at me sideways.
I gotta go. I gotta go. You be a good neighbor like State Farm. I appreciate you coming through. Oh my God.
you, brother.
Yeah, you too. And what he said, that end part there, is very common among gun owners, even ones who don't. Even the gun owners that would think getting rid of guns is ridiculous. A lot of folks believe that we should limit the amount of firearms in this country. A lot of folks think that the teachers themselves should have firearms. So one side says limit firearms, the other side says give everybody a gun. But what he said at the end, that if you can't beat them, join them, that's a common sentiment among most gun owners, is that, listen, if I get rid of my firearm, the neighbor has one, the government might become tyrannical, we might get invaded, so I'm going to stay prepared. That's a very common sentiment. All right, looking in the comments, we're going to go keep the program moving. I do appreciate you folks. If you tap the screen, you know what we say all the time, let your thumbs not be lazy. We don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary. So if you want to come on and you think that yours truly, or even the last caller, completely got it wrong, you know how it is. We don't limit, censor you in any way, fashion, or form. $10,000 a bullet, says Gregory Lever in the comments. That is actually could be referenced by an old Chris Rock, comedian Chris Rock did a comedy special in which he said the exact same thing, that you should increase the price of bullets. Like, I'm not going to shoot your ass with a $5,000 bullet, and that does, as comical as it sounds, would you really go out and use a firearm to steal a purse that had $50 in it if the firearm cost 10, 15 times as much? Would you even be able to afford it? If you're out robbing the average Joe for a living, stealing cell phones, carjacking people, could you really afford a high-priced firearm if you had to pay that kind of money for it? There may be some validity to that. Looking in the comments, though, I'd make them in my garage and be Bezos. No, you wouldn't. And that's something else that's very common. I'll go right back to the box after this, but a lot of folks do believe if firearms were outlawed, people would just make their own firearms. I will counter by simply saying this. Most first world countries around this planet have outlawed firearms. Many in recent times. In our lifetime, Norway, New Zealand in 2015, Australia, I believe in the late 90s, they all banned firearms. And they were all after mass casualty events. And you know what? None of those citizens have a huge instance of making their own firearms. In none of those countries are there a bunch of homemade. I don't know if America is unique on this, or we are just dying to have guns. But there's a hell of a lot of countries out there that have banned firearms and the citizens are not making huge amounts of. Yeah, maybe one or two people here or there or a few hundred. But the notion that you're going to have, what do we have now? 400 and some odd million guns in the country, more guns than people. Everybody's not going to do that. Everybody's not going to do that. But I want to go straight back to the box. Get your boy up to 20,000. Helps out the program, brings in more MAGA. You know how it works. Liberals are welcome as well. Get your boy likes up, 20, 25,000. I'm going to be soliciting that today. Going straight to the box, I've seen Javon was holding on. Mass casualty events seems to be a uniquely American issue, in my humble opinion. But Javon, do you see children losing their lives in schools as something that's happening everywhere and not unique to America?
So it does happen everywhere. Obviously, I'm not going to say that it doesn't, but it definitely happens a insanely larger amount in America. It's definitely more substantial in America.
When you say insanely, are we talking 10 to 1, 100 to 1, 1,000 to 1?
If you look at the statistics, it's over 10 to 1.
Okay. I don't know. I've just heard on CNN, and you can take it for whatever that means, CNN, but they stated we've already had 4 of these this year. And what is today's date? Is it the 4th?
Yeah.
We have one every day. Now, you said 10 to 1. So by the chances are by the 10th we will have had 10 of these because every city, I think they refer to a mass casualty event as what, 4 people? 3 is either 3 or 4 people. We get that every day in the United States. We get more mass casualty events than actual days. So what you're saying is in other countries, by January 10th, this stuff should be happening in other countries if it's 1 out of every 10.
Not every country. There's other countries that trend a little closer to us, like Japan. I know trends, and that it's usually countries that have a closer a sort of cultural stance on a lot of issues to us.
You think Japan? You think there's a decent amount of this happening in Japan?
No, they're closer to the 10 to 1 is what I mean. Like a country like New Zealand's going to be closer to like the 30 to 1 range, where Japan is still sitting in like the 10 to 1 range. South Korea is still sitting in the 10 to 1 range.
Would firearms really?
Yeah.
The reason why I'm appearing so perplexed is a former head of state in Japan was shot and killed last year, and at the time they stated that they only had 2 shootings in that country for the entire year, and he was shot with a homemade gun, and they had 2 shootings all of last year in that country. 2 people.
I could be wrong on that.
Yeah, I think you're really. Now, if you had said Mexico, like somebody said in the comments, or some developing a third world country, but Japan is notoriously known for nobody having a gun. Nobody gets shot in Japan. Did I lose my last caller?
I'm here.
Okay, all right. So yeah, I don't even think Japan would qualify as 1,001 in my humble. I mean, you think about how many people in this country, because everybody getting shot don't die. So a lot of people that get shot and live. I don't even think Japan is 1,001.
Not every country's in that 10 to 1 range. But there are definitely countries that are higher and lower on the spectrum. But again, no one is even close to us.
Yeah. So if we want
knife attacks, that's what I had confused. Japan has a lot of knife attacks.
Okay. That could be. I mean, but then again, I don't know how many knife attacks we have in this country as well. We may be competitive there too. Because people do get stabbed as well. But I would ask this: how do you think, if you wanted to, let's say, for instance, you were given the position of, education secretary or something of that nature, and your job was to curtail children losing their lives in schools, what would you recommend?
So, my biggest recommendation, and this won't fix the issue, I believe this is a cultural issue in America, but a common denominator I've noticed with a lot of these attacks, like Parkland, for example, the shooters are never using a firearm that they procured on their own. It's always, I went into my dad's safe and grabbed one, or my uncle bought this for me, or my brother bought this for me. I think, number one, you should be required to own a high security safe in your home. And number two, I believe that you should be equally as responsible for whatever crime that person commits with that gun if you give it to him.
Well, they don't give it to them. I mean, we know that. I mean, they're like what happened in Sandy Hook.
Or put it in a position where it's easily accessible.
Okay. Yeah, but see, here's the pushback from the gun crowd. How can I be prepared to defend my family if you're requiring me to put the gun under lock and key? I need something that's readily accessible at any time. Because a lot of folks who own firearms for self-defense, I hate to say it, they have this mindset that somebody is always looking to pop them at any time. So I need to be ready to go. I mean, there are YouTube channels where people were talking about you need to have your draw under 2 seconds, 1 second to the draw. I mean, you need to be ready. Somebody's out to get you. So if you have that mindset, are you going to favor these type of security devices you're talking about?
I would still favor these type of security devices because I believe the amount of situations that you are going to be in where you need it within 2 seconds are very slim. In most cases, and if you're already this paranoid of a person, I'm sure you've already locked the door to your house. It's going to take them a little bit to break that door down. Are you sleeping on the first floor? Are you sleeping on the second floor? I feel like, well, another common thing is if you look at the statistics, a lot of people are killed with their own weapons. Their own weapons are used against them as well.
That is exceptionally common, that if you have a firearm in a home, the statistical probability of that firearm being used to hurt somebody that's in the home is far greater than it is to use as a self-defense tool. That is certainly true, but folks are willing to negotiate that risk. So you say number one being gun safes and an equal amount of culpability for the owner of the firearm, if they're, because you're right, most of these kids that come to school, obviously they're under the age where they can legally get a firearm, so it's never their gun. But okay, but the things you're talking about are reactive though. You'll be punished, the dad will be punished, things like that. Now the gun safe is a proactive, the security device is a proactive. But what else would you recommend?
The gun safe, and then again the harder penalties for those who put their gun into an easily accessible place. And then I would also recommend that every state, you have to pass some sort of psychological evaluation to make sure you're of sound of mind.
Wow. And that right there. What about for the children though? Because they're the ones doing the shooting. You think, because if dad may be totally sane, but like what happened in, I think, Perry, Iowa this morning, the child may be getting bullied, or as folks, my beloved MAGA would say, the child was a snowflake. So he didn't like name calling, so he brought a firearm to school and decided to get rid of the person that was on Twitter. So even if you give dad a psychological evaluation, it doesn't pertain to the kid who may actually use the firearm. Are you saying the child should also be psyched?
No, the child shouldn't be psyched. And I believe my first idea is what would prevent the child. So, for example, in my town, my sophomore year of high school, there was a threat from another student in my grade because he was getting bullied online as well. But he was unable to get into his father's safe. The police showed up to his house while he was trying to figure out how to get into the safe. They canceled school that day, went straight to his house, caught him trying to get into the safe. He didn't know the password. His father was out of town.
That's actually a good thing. That actually does show that the safe worked in that case. But yeah, I would agree with you in regards to gun safes, but the pushback from the gun crowd, particularly NRA, they believe any law controlling your maintenance of firearms or your handling firearms is a stepping stone towards taking all firearms away, which is why they push back against the mental health evals you're talking about. They don't want to legalize gun safes because that's a gun law. Same thing with, the suggestion that you should have to take a training class to at least demonstrate proficiency on the gun you're handling. Well, if you say shall not be infringed, that means the minute this person turns 18, as long as they don't have a criminal record, you got to give them a gun, even if they don't have arms and legs. And that's kind of where we have been at. I mean, I don't know how you get around that.
See, and that's where I think it's truly reactive, is we're allowing these people to say, let's say a person does have even depression and they plan to use the gun to unalive themselves. In that instance, by allowing them to do that without making sure they were sound of mind, we are reacting to their death after the fact.
And that's what most of it is it's reactionary. But Javon, I do got to move it on. And I will say, in regards to what you and I was discussing, Jay Hartel in the comments said, just similar to what I said, when people are out to get you, you need to be able to get a gun quick. Jay Hartel says, my gun in the safe is worthless when seconds matter. So in other words, I need this to be able to access really, really quick. So there you go.
I want to know who's after him, who's getting in his house in seconds. The Navy SEALs, because...
All right, I appreciate you coming on, Javon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Absolutely, anytime. Looking in the comments, and that is the way a lot of folks feel. A lot of folks feel that they need to be able to access their firearm and use it within, like you said, when seconds counts. I'm going to be in a really dire situation where I need to be able to start delivering rounds downrange really, really quick. And any type of security measure adds seconds onto the clock. That's one of the biggest pushbacks to legalizing the requirement of safes. So I don't know how you get around it. Looking in the comments, I see you there, Mishi. We'll keep going real quick though. SFT3 walking around with a 38 mag, not good. What is SF? I don't get. Oh, 5'3". You're 5'3" walking around with a 38 Magnum doesn't. Yeah, it's a hell of a. Talk about your pants around your ass. That'll do it. If you need seconds, then you take that risk. All right, fair enough. Going back to the box, talking about 2 questions. Obviously, with a mass casualty event, somebody said there was a substitute teacher. I haven't heard the additional details to what happened in Perry, Iowa, but I see somebody in the comments said it was a substitute teacher that came to the class and did this. That is certainly not the norm. It's usually a student. But this case, somebody said a substitute teacher did it. I'll have to look that up. You guys let me know if that's what you've heard as well. Going to the box, Mishi, the one and only. Good afternoon. Welcome. And then somebody else responded immediately saying, no, it was a student. Yeah, I heard it was a student too. Mishi, good afternoon.
How you doing?
Good. Pleasure to have you back on.
Thanks for having me. Wow, so much to say. Which one do you want to start with?
Let's start with the 14th and we'll work our way right into how do we save students' lives.
Okay, so I trust scholars, and I mean, I think we have to look at. I'm not a constitutional academic, you know. I mean, but there are people that are, and it was the Republicans that know the Constitution inside and out are the ones that brought this forward. So I think that there's merit, and everyone in your comment section. You're not as smart as these guys, okay? So it wasn't partisan. I'm not as smart as these guys. So
Same.
I think there's merit. I think this is about MAGA wanting to pick and choose like they do the Bible. You want to pick and choose what you like in the Constitution and what works for you and what doesn't. So, you know, if you're going to be a constitutionalist, be a constitutionalist. And there was an insurrection. I don't know what to tell you. It was a violent uprising against authority or government. That's an insurrection.
Then I have to push back immediately. Well, first of all, let me ask you 2 things. Well, you mentioned the constitutionalists or folks who know the law, so you do believe it applies to Trump, even though the Trump camp is saying it does not. But when you say,
I think the people that know should decide.
That's going to be
the people that. Right, I think the judges and I think the people who are constitutionalists are the ones who should decide. But it's not partisan. He was never charged, lady. He was impeached for that.
But you know, when you say it should be up to the scholars to decide, that's going to be a Republican supermajority Supreme Court that's ultimately going to get that.
I don't think they want to touch it.
Really?
I think there's a couple things that they don't have. I don't think there's a couple things they don't want to have to touch. You know, I mean, I think they don't want to touch his immunity deal, and I don't think they want to touch this one. I mean, if you
wait a minute. To me, just to interrupt you for a minute, to me, the immunity deal is equivalent to a very slow, underhand toss softball. If you can't tell folks whether or not the president has complete blanket immunity, what good are you?
Would you want that for Biden? I don't think so. Then the Biden crime family could get away with everything, right? He could do whatever he wants in the office. So you can't have it both ways. Again, you can't pick and choose. And I don't give a shit about Biden, okay? If the guy was found to do something shady that he shouldn't have been done, lock him up. Don't give a fuck. Don't care, okay? So
you still the Michi I remember.
Okay, listen, the Constitution, you want to bring things back to state rights? Why are you guys upset that Maine has determined constitutionally that he shouldn't be able to run?
Yeah. Well, they're suggesting that the states don't have the right to do this. They're saying that only the feds can do this.
But they do for abortion, right? I mean, so.
Yeah. But abortion.
Less government control.
Yeah, but the typical pushback is abortion is not in the Constitution. That's not a constitutional right.
Well, it is. We get rights when we're born.
Yeah, but they're going to say the baby. They're going to say the baby
is born.
Yeah, they're going to say the baby has rights as well because they see it as a baby even at conception.
Yeah, but the Constitution uses the word born.
Oh, all right. Then you win that one. I didn't know that. Okay.
So listen, I don't know what it's going to take. I mean, listen, you know, I was a Trump voter. I was never a true MAGA, but I mean, at this point, I can't. Listen, 91 felony counts, these arrests. I mean, you guys don't even want to believe that he was buddies with Epstein. He was. There was a 13-year-old that accused him and Epstein of grape. Okay, whether you guys want to believe that, you will turn yourselves inside out for this man. It doesn't matter what he does. He tried to cheat. He's the one who tried to overturn an election. He's the one who incited an insurrection. And you guys are just going to keep on going, no. There's nothing. There's nothing that man can do.
What about the claim that he's...
What a court document that says that woman filed a charge against him.
What about before we go to the schools, what about the claim that as an adult, you're responsible for your own behavior? And he said, go peacefully.
And he also said, fight like hell. And the thing was called Save the Steal,
Stop the Steal.
What was it called? Stop the Steal.
Yeah.
You know, we know. I mean, honestly. I mean, he incites violence all the time against people. His True Socials, I mean, he's telling people to rot in hell, and that Biden's destroying our country and the socialist radical. I mean, he is inciting anger. He's inciting violence. We hear it from MAGA when you guys would really go to civil war for Donald J. Trump? What a joke. I mean, honestly, if you want to go for something else, fine. But over this doopy, narcissistic POS, come on, guys, do better. Now, secondly, the gun reform.
Right.
The NRA spent $1.6 billion against background checks. Can we not do the very minimum to try to protect kids?
Let me ask you that. Why do you think they would be so adamant against a background check?
Right. Well, because they want to get more weapons in more people's hands, because they want to make money. Okay? They also fought, and they spent millions of dollars, if not billions of dollars, to stop research to find out how reform benefits gun violence.
Yeah.
We talked about school shootings. The United States, 288 school shootings. The next closest is Mexico with 8. Okay.
That blows my last caller said it was 10-1. That blows that out the water.
Okay, he's talking more about rates of firearm homicide, which, in the United States, per capita, because that's the only way that we can look at things, per 100,000. If you look at countries with populations over 10 million, so larger countries, we have a homicide rate from guns of 4.52%. The next closest is Saudi Arabia with 1.46. Then Chile at 1.2. Then Canada at 0.62. We're at 4.52. But you know what? You got to hold on to that 2A, my rights.
So let me counter you. Let me present this as a counter. Okay. I like it. So how do you respond to folks who might suggest, okay, you're given the number of firearm deaths, firearm usage in this country, but how do you respond to folks that have said if you were to get rid of the firearms, you would still get that same death rate with people using knives, bombs? Some would make their own firearms. So
Absolutely.
Go ahead.
Absolutely not. We have, and you talked about it earlier. We have data on this. First of all, just in the United States alone, when you have more gun reform, you have lower incidences of homicide by guns. Period. The end. That's it. Yeah. The statistics prove it. Other countries prove it. We have more. You were asking about this. There's more knifing deaths in the U.S. than there are in the UK. The UK is actually really strict. You cannot even get a certain length knife unless you're 18.
I heard that. Yeah, I just heard somebody sent me an article the other day that suggests that they're even shortening the length of knives over there.
U.S. doesn't even understand. I spent some time in London this past summer, and I was like, I could almost touch Prince William, right? He was like so close to me.
Wow. You
know how nice it felt to be there and not like worry that someone was going to break out and there was so much less stress when you have cops walking around with little Bobby, like little fat
yeah. So to sum it up, you're suggesting the same thing my last caller said. Really, the best way to stop this is to get rid of the guns.
I don't think we need to get rid of all guns. I'm not like that at all. And to this point, everyone who thinks, what has Biden done to try to take away your guns? Okay, he has not. There's no policy that's been put forth that is taking away all your guns. So F the slippery slope BS. We need to start doing something in this country. As you said, there's more guns than there are people.
Yeah.
Reform works. I'm about reform. Do I think that people need AR-15s? Not really. I don't. Just like we got rid of machine guns. We got rid of those. There was once upon a time that was legal or it was allowed in the United States. It's not anymore. Why can't we get rid of AR-15s? Why do you need that to protect your home? And by the way, the guy that's all worried about making sure you can get to a gun really quick, honey, there's safes that you can put your thumbprint on, okay? Yeah. And you can get to it really, really quick. So if that's what's really important to you in protecting your family, no one's trying to take that away from you.
All right, fair enough. I don't disagree.
There's no downside. There's no downside to responsible gun ownership. There's no downside to that.
Well, the perceived, you were just saying with the safe, the perceived downside is when seconds matter, that safe can add a second or two to the mix when you're trying to get your gun. So they believe that second or two is detrimental.
Yeah, and it also can be detrimental to your 5-year-old that walks into your bedroom while you're asleep. So let's think about that when the United States is losing children every day because there's not responsible gun ownership. So we need more reform. We need background checks. You know, this is, when is it enough? I mean, I have friends who are Republicans who have had enough sending their kids to school every day, and Republicans going, thoughts and prayers, sorry.
Yeah. Well, I got one final question, because folks in the comments are asking, why do you want, and I'll let you sum it up any way you want, why are you targeting taking away the AR-15? Why do you want to get rid of AR-15s?
I don't like any gun that sole purpose is just to unalive people.
Isn't that all of them?
No, the AR-15 is not as a liberal fear-mongering, Smitty. When you can, okay, why did the police officers in Uvalde not go in because the guy had an AR-15? Right?
Yeah,
he had a pistol, he had to, and he only had 6 rounds in there, rather something that can rapid fire, that goes inside, and I mean, we know what this does to these kids. These kids have to be identified with like records and their shoes. This is not just it's a weapon whose intent is to unalive the most amount of people in the shortest amount of time.
Now, and I agree with that last part. Where I was disagreeing with you is all firearms are designed, that is the only purpose. If you use a firearm as prescribed, it's meant to take the life of something. But as you point out, the AR is designed to do it more efficiently and take down more targets because of the capacity. So that, and at greater distances too. So that I do agree with, but if we get rid of the AR, do you think this would go away?
I think that we saw that it did. So, you know, Clinton did do that. Clinton did put a ban on AR-15s. And yes, we did see a decrease in gun violence associated with those weapons. So, yes, it does work. The statistics support it. I don't want people to not have guns. I think people should be able to go hunting. I think people should be able to use it for whatever means they need in that way. But there are times, and at least gun reform. Make it harder to get a test. Mental background checks. Sure, let's do it all. Let's do it all for the sake of our children's lives and fellow Americans. You guys call yourself patriots. Why don't you give a shit about them?
All right, Mishi, as always, absolutely a pleasure. I do miss your lives, by the way, but appreciate you coming over here anytime.
If I come back and do lives, I like the way you do things a lot better than a lot of people on this app, because I think that you allow opposition to have their piece, and I think it's important that we do that without undermining people and saying they're stupid. I think that that's not going to work moving forward.
Thank you. I've always enjoyed your material, so I'll take that as an honor, that compliment. Thank you. Anytime. If you're back on, I'll certainly come over there as well.
You know I love having you.
Absolutely. Thank you. Appreciate that. Now, I want to say something, because we're running a simulcast on YouTube, so the program is on YouTube as well. Someone made a statement that I wanted to tackle, and that is... the statement is, if the AR was banned, you'd be after the next thing you perceived as most deadly. I actually agree with that. Even though I lean left, I actually agree that if now as my last caller, Misha would point out, they did have an assault rifles ban in this country for a while. Were they then trying to go after the next firearm that was the most lethal? We can debate that. I don't believe they did continue after the assault rifles ban, but I do somewhat believe that if you reduce the number of deaths by getting rid of long rifles or assault rifles, as some might call them, then you would say, well, what's next? Maybe we could drop the number even more. This is very similar, and I'll go back to the box, but I often say that the folks who are trying to curtail the Second Amendment have a lot in common with folks who are pro-life, because both sides do similar stuff. Just like the liberals want you to believe we just want to go after the AR-15, AK-47, SKS. We just want to go after long rifles, assault rifles. When many folks would say, we know you're not going to stop there. Very similar to the pro-life crowd saying, we just want to give the right back to the states. Well, the liberals know you're not going to stop there, because half of the Republican Party is saying we want a federal abortion ban. And the other similarity is both sides, the pro-life crowd, the anti-2A crowd, think they're doing this to save lives. Both sides believe they're saving lives, and both sides are downplaying their actual intentions. The liberals want to put in my opinion, maybe I'm wrong, I'm a 2A, I'm a pew-pew guy, but I will say, the liberals want to severely limit access to firearms in this country if they could get their way completely. But you're not going to say that because it kills the argument. The right wants to severely limit access to abortion nationwide. But once again, just like the liberals, they're not going to say that because they know it would not be very popular. If you believe in saving lives, why would you stop at the AR-15? If you believe in saving lives, why would you stop at states' rights? Both sides are not being honest with you folks. I just want to point that out. Going back to the box, appreciate you folks that are tuning in. We'll make it happen with Winter Trump. That's a hell of a name. All right. As always, the program shall forever be MAGA friendly. Ain't gonna say winner, doing very well. Tap the screen, get your boy up to 50,000. Help your boy out with the likes. A lot of lazy thumbs in it. We got almost 800 people. Winner, good afternoon. What say you?
How's it going? Yeah, I just think that, the idea that, the American government is here to, save every single American life, I think that's just laughable. That's the reason why they want to pass gun control. These are the same people that are funding endless wars in Ukraine, Israel. I mean, they lied about the TW-800 explosion.
Wait a minute. When you say the same people that are for funding the Ukraine, outside of MAGA, everybody is for funding the Ukraine. When Trump didn't attend the Republican debate, but everybody else on stage, I think, with the exception of Vivek Ramaswamy, all said they would be sending money to the Ukraine.
Well, yeah, I agree with you. When it comes to Congress, when it comes to our choices, yeah, they're all neocon war hawks. They're not real conservatives.
Okay.
But when it comes to the MAGA base, or you go out in public, you talk to people, no one's for sending our kids to go die in Russia. That's only people who are set to make tons and tons of money on it. People like Chris Christie, people like, Dick Cheney's daughter. Are you kidding me? Of course they want war. I'm not talking about that.
Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Well, because you mentioned MAGA is not in that crowd, correct?
No, I think most of MAGA is isolationist, America first. Why would we send?
But here's the odd thing. MAGA is pointing out that the liberals and the likes of the Bushes and all of these other folks you're talking about all were in favor of going into these countries and doing all of this stuff. I always point out anyone that is supporting Trump, particularly if you're over 50, they were the ones that put Bush in office to begin with. They're criticizing the guy that would have never been in office if it weren't for them. Almost anybody that voted for Trump that's over 50 also voted for Bush and Dick Cheney.
Yeah, I like that.
I'm young, so no, hang on, let me finish. So I'm young. After I learned what happened in the Iraq War, I learned, oh my God, we could never make this mistake again. We could never let these people lie to us and send our children to die, borrow dollars from the future to go kill innocent people. And that's what we're making the same exact mistake. And the best argument is, well, you guys voted for Bush to do it, so now we have to go make the same mistake. Sorry, not good enough.
So you don't support Israel either, then?
No.
Okay.
I think let's say we support Israel, what are we going to end up? They're going to annex the North. Well, they already annexed the North. They're going to annex the South. And then they're going to kick all those people out, and they're going to immigrate all those people to Western countries. And then Biden and all the liberals are going to be like, yeah, we have to let all the Gazas in. All the people who we just sent money to their oppressors to bomb them.
But what about now? But you mentioned MAGA is more isolationist, and they're not about getting in. I mean, I think that Trump also supports Israel, don't he?
Well, yeah, that's his biggest flaw.
Yeah, because he also got involved and moved the embassy to Jerusalem. I mean, Trump has stood by Israel as well. So even MAGA is. Go ahead.
Yeah, but Trump has also listened to his crowd. Trump was also going on stage and said the greatest invention in the world since sliced bread was the vaccine, and I'm responsible for it. Boo, boo, boo. He stopped.
So what are you saying? Trump is acting like, what are you saying? Trump is acting like a typical politician?
Well, he at least listens. Biden, he's throwing away his second term to support Israel. 74% of Gen Z, a majority of black people, do not support Israel.
But think about what you just said. Think about what you just said. Biden is throwing away his second term in support of Israel, while admitting that, well, the guy that's running against Biden, he supports Israel too. So you're gonna get American support of Israel, no matter which one of these guys you vote for.
Well, like what I was trying to point out is Biden, he's literally throwing away his chance at a second term. Entire Gen Z, most black people, most of the youth, staunchly against Israel, 80%. When Trump was pushing an idea that was staunchly MAGA was against, he changed his tune on that. Biden has not. So if MAGA, makes it known, yeah, we don't want to go to war with Iran. That's not something we're interested in. We don't want to,
But here's the issue. Okay, I hear your point, and I agree with your point that most of the younger voters are not big fans of Israel. In fact, some of them are outright supporting the Palestinians and Hamas. However, if you're a younger voter and you're pissed off at what Biden is doing, particularly black voters, as you mentioned, you think they're going to go vote for Trump instead?
Well, I don't know about that. And let's call out Mishi for change, your last guest. Biden is working towards a ceasefire. Trump has not. Biden's press secretary has called anyone who supported a ceasefire in Gaza abhorrent, and I think they called him anti-Semitic. So you're just wrong.
I don't know if I've heard that. I don't know if you're telling me President Biden has stated that anybody's calling for a ceasefire is anti-Semitic. I have not heard that.
Secretary said that was abhorrent.
Okay. I haven't heard it, so I can't counter you on it, but I have not heard that. In fact, I believe Biden himself was demanding that Israel ceasefire. Now, they didn't vote for it on the world stage, which America's the only country that did not vote in favor of Israel having a ceasefire. But I do believe the Biden administration has been trying to get Israel by backdoor channels to tone down what they're doing.
They're not saying it publicly, though. Why aren't they showing any support for these Palestinians? Why are we still sending them arms? We sent a whole warship over there and threatened any Arab nation that wants to go save the Palestinians. We're going to send the full force of the American military at you. Why are we backing a genocide with our military? I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, I hear your point, but I'm going to state what I told you earlier in our conversation. If you're pissed off with Biden doing all the things you're saying in regards to Israel, voting for Trump is not the solution, because Trump would have backed Israel right off the bat. And you see all of the folks on stage, from DeSantis to Christie to Nikki Haley, have all said they would be doing it too.
Yeah, but we're trying to move the ball down the field. What's the closest thing next to Trump that was on the stage? Vivek. He said he wanted to cut all foreign aid to Israel. He's possibly a vice president candidate. Opposed to what? Oh, we're going to pick Biden, who supports the war completely supports it, and he's for mass immigration. He wants to invade Gaza, and then import all the people into Western nations, and they're going to destroy our country because they hate us so much. Rightfully so, for destroying them and bankrolling their entire war against their entire generation and bloodline. It's disgusting.
I don't know if I've heard Biden promote having the, what do you call it, the refugees of Gaza.
Bibi Netanyahu, we hear that from the Likud party a lot. Israel saying that. Israel said all these people in Gaza need to go to Western nations because they're going to flatten it and turn it into a consumer hotspot, and they're going to resurrect the third temple, and they're going to build, beachfront apartments and stuff so they can sell it to people.
Okay, I think you might be speculating a bit. So what you basically are saying is,
I can rent on Airbnb right now an apartment that is in an occupied zone. It's technically in Gaza, but it's just, the IDF went in there, they knocked down the buildings, they resurrected apartments, and they sold permits to only Jewish people because they're God's chosen race. And I can rent it on Airbnb. It's wild.
So based on what you're saying, is it safe to say you believe the Israelis are bad people, acting in bad faith?
Well, yeah, every 2 seconds they ask you to condemn Hamas. Do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Israel? They're the ones that are going into the countries, and they call it mowing the grass because they bomb agricultural centers. They bomb education centers. Oh, because Hamas is like hiding under the chickens or something. These are the same people who bomb Syrian airlines, civilian airlines, right on the tarmac because there may be terrorists on there. If we bombed a civilian airline on their own tarmac, it would be called terrorists. If Russia did that, our children would be over there dying today.
So here's what I don't get, though. But here's what I don't get, what I've been telling you the whole conversation. If you think that Israel is acting in bad faith and you are MAGA, you got even your name says Winner Trump, you're voting for somebody that's going to support Israel.
I don't know that. He criticized Bibi Netanyahu hard after the fact. You know how much Trump...
Do you really? Wait a minute. Come on now. We've talked plenty of times. We've talked... Go ahead.
Let me finish. Yeah, so I do agree. Trump was one of the most pro-Israel presidents during his presidency at the time. The Kushner situation, Ivanka, I get it. The ties are deep. But after the fact, when he was condemned by Bibi Netanyahu for dining with Kanye, he said, listen, Bibi, you've been getting so much criticism, and it's rightfully so. The fact that you would even consider going after me after all I did for you shows maybe all this criticism is deserved and warranted. You'll never, ever, ever hear something like that from Biden or a Democrat. And that's their job. You're supposed to stand up to these these warlords. Why does Trump have to be the guy to do it?
Well, here's the problem I have. I disagree. I do have to move it on, but I have to move it on. Hang on. Hold on. Hang on. Although I have to move it on, I'll give you the last word, but I will say this. Trump runs his mouth constantly in regards to how he feels. He doesn't hold his feelings. If he felt that Israel is as wrong as you are, there would be tweets coming out. He's not really saying anything about Israel. And that, to me, speaks volumes, is that he's kind of taking a back seat, seeing where this will go, and then once he gets in office, we don't know where he's going to go on it. But he is not being outly either pro or anti-Israel.
Yeah, his play isn't to be anti-Israel. If you want to get elected as president of America, I would never suggest anyone to be anti-Israel. I see it curl on your lips,
Yeah.
And listen, he owns so much real estate. This guy can't be going outward anti-condemning Israel. This guy will lose everything. They saw what you did to Kanye. They saw what you did to President Gay. You go after Israel hard enough, they will take everything they have for you. Even if you're a black president at President of Harvard, they'll just take your job and replace you with a Jewish guy if you're not anti-Semitic enough. Or not anti-Semitic enough. It's freaking insane.
I don't know if they have that much power, but okay. All right.
What do you mean? 7 out of 8 Ivy League presidents are Jewish, and that's insane. They're 2% of the population. They make up the entire presidential cabinet. How do you think you can own $150 million worth of real estate or $1 billion worth of real estate and not having to deal with Israelis and their money lending? Really? He wouldn't have all that real estate if he was anti-Israel. It's impossible.
All right. You're not the only one to say that. I won't get involved in that, but you're not the only one. But I do got to move it on. Trump, Winner Trump.
Yeah, they took $1 billion from Kanye, They took $1 billion from Kanye.
Kanye took $1 billion from himself, saying all that unpopular shit. Even if another Jewish person said what Kanye said, they would lose a ton of money. Kanye fucked himself over, period.
I don't think you could. I don't think anyone could tweet anything that could cost them $1 billion. One tweet for $1 billion. That's freaking insane.
Yeah, I think
I
think Harvey Weinstein or Epstein, if they were alive, if they tweeted the truth, it would cost them all their money. You can tweet something that can cost you $1 billion.
Epstein. I mean, that guy's probably still alive, honestly.
I gotta go. All right. Well, and I will say, yeah, I vehemently disagree that if you're exceptionally wealthy, there's nothing you can tweet that it won't cost you $1 billion. Unless you have that money under your mattress, yeah, you can tweet something that'll cost you a ton of money. And I'll tell you something. When Kanye got on the hot seat, even the bank called him and told him, come get your money. We don't want shit to do with you. They actually told him, and they posted the letter online. Either you get your money out of our bank in 30 days or we're going to mail you a check. Just kick it. How often do you get kicked out of the fucking bank? I mean, that's how bad Kanye West has fallen out of favor with even the wealthiest folks among us. So I do believe you can tweet out something that'll cost you a fortune. It depends on how bad it is. I mean, you're talking about speaking favorably of a guy that is probably one of the most mass murderers in world history, the mustache guy. When you start talking about this guy with, speaking favorably of that guy, I don't think there's anybody that can do that without it costing him a lot of money, a lot of friends, a lot of favor, a lot of credibility. I don't think there's any way you can do that. Unless you associate with nothing but people that have a one-sided view of history. There are people who believe the Holocaust didn't exist. If those are your friends, then yeah, it's not going to cost you a damn thing. Looking in the box. I'm not even going to go with this one, but Ash Taylor says we need a new mustache guy. That's not racist at all, folks. We need a new mustache guy. I'm sure that person would tell you, I got a bunch of black friends, I hang around Jewish and everything. All right, looking in the comments. If border is closed, I'd hate to see it open. FDs. I don't quite get that, Brownsbacker. Well, you're basically saying if the border is currently being secured, you'd hate to see when it's wide open. I get your point. And I've said before, to some degree, the liberals want folks to come in this country because they turn into votes eventually. I'm not going to pretend or, downplay it. And I will tell you this, once many of those immigrants become naturalized or have babies that are American citizens and they can vote, I guarantee they will turn into liberals. I'm not saying it's right to let a bunch of folks that shouldn't be in the country, but when you look at how the right are treating these people, putting things in the water that'll drown them, having a former president that allegedly talked about shooting them, Texas governor talking about throwing them in prison, Trump talked about building a moat with dangerous animals, they're busing them to other places up north without clothing or any supplies, lying to them. You're going to have those folks remember who looked out for them and who treated them like shit when they came in the country. You don't think they're going to tell their children? Republicans don't like us. So the idea that it turns into votes and the Democrats want them, yeah, there's some validity to that, and the Republicans are falling right in line with it. The Republicans portray these folks as invaders, rapists, murderers. They're here to kill all of us. Meanwhile, the liberals are like, they just want a job. They're just trying to better their family. You don't think they're going to remember that? Generations down the line, you don't think the parents are going to tell their kids that and kids that? Why do you think so many black people vote Democrat? You don't think we're hearing shit from our parents and grandparents? That's what happens, folks. Regardless of controlling the border or not, and I strongly favor controlling the border. But when you start doing inhumane shit, people remember that. That will live on for quite a while. We could easily see ourselves 2-3 generations down the line admitting what we did as Republicans back then was probably wrong. It set us back. That's going to come up. That is going to absolutely come up. Looking in the comments, wow, that is a fact. But when the bad ones pop up, that's the trait. 1970. I'm not disagreeing that some folks that come in the country have nefarious intentions. But that's not what is being portrayed from the right. They're not sending us their best and brightest. They're sending us their rapists and murderers. That don't sound like some of them are bad. That sounds like only a few of them are good. That portrays them as monsters. That's going to be remembered. Certainly when it's coming from a Republican president on national TV. Grandmothers are going to tell that to their grandchildren 20, 30 years down the line. It'll be the same thing with Democrats among blacks. Why do you keep voting for Democrats? Are you stupid? No, we can put people on TV from the 60s and stuff too. You're giving folks material that will be used against you generations down the line. Looking in the box, Joby R. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Talking about
Happy New Year.
Hey, Happy New Year to you. Good. Happy New Year to you as well. Good to have you back on. Tripping over my own words. We're talking about two topics. One being we've had another mass casualty event in this country today. How the hell can we stop it? And the other being the Trump legal team is suggesting you can't charge him with the 14th Amendment because it doesn't even apply to him. What say you?
All right, first, I'm licensed. Did it the right way.
License how?
Licensed gun owner.
Okay, all right.
GP owner.
All right. What state are you in that requires a license? I mean, most states nowadays are shall issue. They're barely requiring anything at all.
Connecticut.
Oh, dead. Okay, fair enough. All right, keep going.
Most people, 83%, I believe, of Americans, that's both sides of the aisle, etc., want some kind of common sense gun reform, and it's never even brought up as an issue, which means that regarding what most Americans want, we don't get.
Yeah.
I am only 45 minutes from Sandy Hook, and tragically when that happened, and nothing changed, I knew from that moment on that nothing was ever going to change.
You know, that's a good point, because when you look at the fact that this was a bunch of kindergartners, if taking the lives of a bunch of kindergartners can't provoke some type of sympathy, yeah, nothing can.
Nothing can. And again, we want that common sense gun reform, and it's not even brought up in the House or the judicial system.
It is that unpopular.
And I believe that most Americans live under a total false sense of security. You've been to the airport, correct?
Yep.
When do you get searched? After you go through what?
The metal detector.
Okay, before the metal detector, are there not dozens, if not hundreds of people?
Right.
And you can have what you want on you right there.
Right.
There. No one's even looking at you the right
Yep.
way.
Yep.
So when they say if we put a guard on every school in front of every classroom door, what's to stop someone from doing some damage when the buses arrive?
You know, I've said that same argument because folks always say, well, if you ban guns, people will find another way. Well, if you get a teacher a gun, or if you put up metal detectors, as you're rightfully pointing out, why can't they find another way to take people out before they get to those devices? I said that the recess is wide open. Field trips are wide open. You mentioned a bus, wide open. So they'll find another way argument seems to disappear with folks who support gun ownership when you present it from a logical standpoint.
I mean, your kid basically is not safe the moment they walk off your front doorstep. They are in harm's way from that point on. Nothing, if you give teachers guns, how many students fight teachers every year?
Yeah.
Have a fight with their teacher and disarm their teacher, and then what? How many, do you want Mr. Johnson, who Monday night caught his wife in bed with a man and went to school Tuesday morning not feeling so hot.
You know, and that's
Gun in the closet.
yeah, and to follow up on that, that's another good point. Particularly in urban areas, you have a lot of these badass kids get involved in fights with teachers, and if the teacher is armed, you're going to have teachers that say, "I had to take out this, you know, he's a linebacker for the team. I had to take him out in self-defense." Because there are videos online. There's one I watched before of a African American gentleman, a big dude. He beat his teacher unconscious. If that teacher had a firearm, they would have been legitimately justified to kill a kid. That would absolutely happen.
Yeah, so like I said, it's a complete false sense of security. And it's unless you arm everybody all the time, everywhere, you know, there's nothing that's really going to curb that. Like I said, you go to the train station. I go to Grand Central all the time. I'm not even looked at. And that place is full. And everybody's got a bag.
Yeah.
Not even, you know.
How about this? In the comments, Tiger Strikes Back said, retired police officers, who usually are pretty old, by the way, but retired police officers who had no history of misconduct should be paid to guard schools. Do you think that could make a difference?
Like I said, you're okay. Say there's 20 of them inside the school. What's going to happen outside the school? Lunch breaks, when the buses first arrive, when people are dropping their kids off. It's more kids are outside than inside.
Not to mention the very popular argument of quote unquote who's going to pay for it? Who's going to pay for all of these retired cops to get a paycheck? I mean, that's going to come up. What's going to end up? Because, I mean, let's face it, 99.999% of American schools never have a casualty event. So you're going to have penny pitchers like, well, we need new roads or we need a bridge fix. Maybe we can cut back on some of these officers because these schools are never going to use them. So
take 1.5% of the military budget. That should cure everything.
What do you mean?
That'll end hunger.
You're right.
If you take the combined salaries of Bezos, Gates, and who's the Walmart guy, their combined salaries could eradicate hunger in the U.S. Just those three guys.
That's socialism, no. I'm telling you the pushback. That's socialism.
All right, your second topic, Mr.
Second topic, 14th Amendment does not apply to number 45, says his legal team.
Okay, fine. Same thing with Biden then. If they agree that the 14th Amendment doesn't supply to Biden, and Biden can claim immunity, then I'm all for it. As long as both of them can claim immunity.
No, you're not. Joby, no, you're not. No, you're not. Because you don't know who you want Trump's son who wins in 2028 to also have immunity. I mean, no, you don't. Don't sacrifice the country. Go ahead.
If they give immunity to Hunter and Joe, give them all immunity.
No, I would rather you throw Hunter and Biden in prison than give a president immunity. You do realize this can come back to bite us on whoever knows in the future.
Just throw Oprah in there. You get immunity. Everybody gets immunity.
Okay.
Come on now.
All right. Well, nobody gets immunity. I don't listen. This is not a car on the Oprah show. Even Oprah don't give out cars no more. I'm not a fan of giving anybody immunity. I'll give you the last word though. That was funny, but no.
So he's obviously going to try to claim it.
He's already did. Yeah.
Do you think it's feasible and possible?
I think it's frightening.
Do you think the Constitution will kick in?
I think that with a 6-3 Supreme Court majority and knowing how well Trump is willing to reward loyalty, I think anything is possible. Even stuff we never thought would be possible before. Because I listen, what happened on January 6th, whether you think Trump committed an insurrection or not, the fact is that a person that is saying that they won an election by a landslide with virtually no evidence that he won by a landslide even 3 years later, and he's still saying it, that you could be reelected again? I do believe that anything is possible. Anything. I mean, because it's one thing to say, I don't think the 2020 election was held properly, and I got some questions. Some things look suspicious. He's saying he won by a landslide. If you can make that up, and all of that happens because of what you said, whether you think you're responsible for what happened on January 6th or not is debatable. But it absolutely happened because you told people their election was being stolen. no evidence, and you can run again. Anything can happen.
But regarding that, I mean, the fact that he, after physically watching what was happening to the Capitol of the United States of America, he literally sat by for 3.5 hours as a president without saying a single word, knowing why they were there. And the fact that, they weren't the smartest bunch of people. A lot of them were wearing their name badges and their uniforms from work, filming their crimes. Imagine robbing a bank.
Is that right? Is that true? People went into the
Yeah, some of them had their badges on from their jobs, and they were filming themselves. So not a lot of masterminds here. So imagine robbing a bank and live streaming it till you get home.
I don't have any. Yeah, that's ridiculous. I didn't know that.
So that's just comical. And the claim for those out there who claim it was Antifa and it was Black Lives Matter and so on, whoever you want to claim it was. Okay, let's just say every single one of them was Antifa and Black Lives Matter. Every one of them. Why would the former president go on TV and say, if I'm reelected, big if I'm reelected, I will pardon you? Why would he agree to pardon Black Lives Matter and
right.
Antifa?
And he also said, we love you, go home, and he made a song with him. Yeah, that pretty much to me is all the evidence that they were not Black Lives Matter or Antifa. Yeah, it's a contradiction in terms, and it's pretty obvious. But Joby, you know what I got to do. Appreciate you coming in here. Hey, thanks for coming up. Appreciate that. You have a good New Year as well. All right, by the way, tap the screen. We should have been way over 50,000. What's up? I want to respond to a couple comments I've seen while me and the last caller was in deep discussion, so to speak. We were getting our asses insulted off, and it doesn't matter if you're insulting the host. I'm going to read the comments. I'm always going to give you your free speech. I don't have any issue with folks stating their point here. We don't block, ban, or censor anybody. That's why the program always will remain MAGA friendly. Tap the screen, you know how we do. I was talking about the claim that he not only was the election held suspiciously, if Trump felt that, he's also stating he won by a landslide. And at least in my humble opinion, and I've talked to a lot of MAGA on the show, who have also stated we have not seen definitive proof that he won by a landslide. Well, somebody in the comments, Nose Guy, stated he won by a landslide. Period. Fact. Where's the evidence? If Trump won by a landslide, we're not talking about, looks like somebody was stuffing ballot boxes or it looks like Dominion voting machines. Where's the facts? Actual facts that show Trump won by a landslide. And I will also say this. It doesn't help Trump's case to have so many members of his own administration, like his own attorney general saying he lost and his own vice president. That doesn't look right. In addition, one more step further. When we go to vote, folks, who do we vote for in the national election? You vote for president. You often vote for senators, Congress. You vote for governors. You vote perhaps for your mayor, city council members, even legislation, certain laws you vote for every 4 years when you go cast the ballot. You don't just vote for the president. If the 2020 election was held improperly, where are all of the Republicans that actually outperformed expectations? The senators in Congress actually outperformed. They weren't expected to do as well as they did. Trump lost, but a lot of Republicans won offices in that 2020 election. Where are the claims that they won by fraud? Because if those ballots were not properly cast, then that means a lot of them should not have won their offices either. We're making it sound like the 2020 election was only about electing the president. There are a lot of Republicans that were victorious on that November night of 2020. Not one of them is saying, maybe I didn't win by, legal means. Not one of them is complaining about that. Are we supposed to ignore that? Now, one other comment, even stronger than that last one, that Trump won by a landslide, and that's a fact. Don Prego stated, you don't even deserve what your ancestors did for you. Now, me and my last caller both are minorities, so I don't know if he was referencing me or the last caller. Nevertheless, I do want to read the comment. We don't deserve what our ancestors did for us. Yikes. I would love an elaboration. It's a strong comment. I don't know where it came from or, how to define it. So feel free to elaborate in the comments. All right, looking in the box, Sal F says, are you getting ready to cry? Tears of joy, my friend. Tears of joy. You know what we say on the program. Our callers go left of Bernie Sanders to him having dinner with QAnon tonight. And we let everybody speak. So you get some tears on this program, and they are tears of joy. Going back to the box. Beers. 20, what does that say? Beers 7. Okay, maybe I clicked on a different. Hang on a second. Let's see what comes up. And by the way, tap the screen. That's common sense. Good afternoon, common sense. I'm doing good. Your name used to be owned by a rapper from Chicago, now known as Common, but his original name was Common Sense. So we're talking about two issues. First of all, we had another mass casualty event at a school in Perry, Iowa, and we're asking, what can we do to stop children from losing their lives in schools? And of course, we're mentioning the 14th Amendment because President Trump's legal team says it does not even apply to a president. What say you?
Well, it's news to me. I didn't know somebody had lost their lives in another accident. That's pretty tragic.
You think that was wait. You said accident?
Or, you know what I mean, in some of a mass shooting?
Yeah, mass shooting sounds better. How do we stop it?
I am a Democrat, and I am a gun owner. I believe in the Second Amendment, but I also would like for them to figure out some way to stop this, because I have 2 kids that go to school, and that bothers me, even on a stress level, just to think about what goes on,
If they did a town hall where they handed out a notebook to every member of your town and asked, write down 5 things you think that could be done to stop the next one from happening. Give me what you would put down.
I think at the top of the list, since I am a gun owner and I have kids, and I think that safety is the number one thing. I think.
What you said? Safety.
Safety is important. If your kid takes your weapon to school to do an unaliving on other students or teachers, then you should be also responsible for having it out there for them just to grab.
Isn't that already the case, though? Isn't that already the case? If your kid grabs your gun out of the car and go do something like that, aren't you already responsible for that?
Do they lock them up and do stuff like that?
Oh, probably not. They don't enforce it anywhere near to the. You're saying if my child takes my firearm out of the car and takes the life of 5 people, should I be charged with 5 cases of manslaughter?
Yes, I think that would push a pressure on people who are gun owners to make sure that they are being strict, because it kills people. I mean, it does unalive people on a daily basis. I mean, I used to deliver, and I think the right is a lot of propaganda about, we're going to take your stuff. And I used to deliver FedEx to people, and under Obama, I mean, a lot of people bought guns, but I've never seen anybody get banned. Yep. And
they made the price. Under Obama, the price of an AR tripled in price because they thought that he was going to go for him. Gold shot up in value. They thought Obama was going to destroy the damn world. Give me number 2.
I think it's a scare tactic that they use, but I think, again, maybe they should have security guards or retired cops maybe doing the crosswalks, or since he said the vulnerable times are during recess and lunch and break, stuff like that, when they're outside, maybe parents could go park or something outside the school, for extra protection.
So, I mean, you make it sound like the children are going to be having almost damn near Secret Service protection. Everywhere they go, people with guns are going to be around them. Is that what you're suggesting? Everywhere the child goes. Go ahead.
Just put it like that. That don't sound right either,
Sounds like a prison.
So I think we don't know the answer, and that's the thing. I don't think we do know the answer to that. I mean, do you have the Second Amendment? People don't, and even I'm a Democrat. I don't want my guns taken, but I also think that some guns shouldn't be out there. I've always wanted an AR-15, but I've never bought one. I'm 39. But would you
support an AR ban, with the exception of maybe hunting or some kind of extenuating circumstance? Would you support an AR ban?
just as, I would guess I would have to say yeah, because I don't own one. And like I said, I've always wanted one, but just because I want something, doesn't mean I have to have it. So I would think that is like a spoiled American. I mean, it is a military weapon in my view, and I would never use it if I had one to go hunting. That it would just be like for protection. But I have my shotguns and all that stuff, and I do concealed carry or open carry because I live in Colorado. It's an open carry state. And I am a Democrat, so I always have one on me, but I always make sure I take those precautions so my kids can't touch it, and I educate them as well.
Now, speaking of being from Colorado and being a Democrat, you already know where I'm going to spin this to. Did your state get it right, this 14th Amendment?
Oh, man, you throw me off with your Make America Great hat there, and then I hear you talking because I've been listening to you for the last half hour, but I think Trump does not belong on the ballot, and if the states want to take that into their right, then that's their right, and I think they got it right. I mean, I feel bad because I got Republican friends that want to vote, and I feel like their rights are getting taken away, but then I know what I witnessed with my eyes. I know the rhetoric that Trump did before the election. Oh, they're going to only, if they win, it's only because they stole, and if you can't see every little breadcrumb trail that's led up to January 6th and what we're still going to go through, and the rhetoric that he still does, then, yeah, I think that Colorado did the right thing by taking him off the ballot, and Maine. And
for folks that are just watching me like yourself, I will explain the hat after you and I talk on the other side. But on January 6th, what do you think Trump was trying to do?
I think that he was trying to overturn the country and remain president. And I think the people that stormed the Capitol also failed him because they didn't go as far as they could have went. I mean, he was trying to get them to take down the things so they could be armed, right?
Yeah.
Wasn't he trying to say, hey,
that's what folks are saying.
Whatever it's called. And so if they went in there more heavily armed, and he was telling stand down and stand by when they're asking them to denounce white supremacy, then everything is a breadcrumb trail. And at this point, they're just trying to deny it to buy time.
Well, in the comments, just before I let you go, Dark Holla Mama, which is a hell of a name, says taking anyone off the ballot is unconstitutional, period. I'm a Democrat in this BS. Do you think the Supreme Court is going to denounce what your state did, or you think they're going to back it up?
I hope it does go to the Supreme Court.
It will.
I think it will be a shocker when they keep the states to do their own rights, because Trump packed that Supreme Court, and even they didn't even approve of his election lies when they were trying to,
Wow.
And so in every way that he was trying to prove that the election was stolen, he failed, right?
So wait a minute, let me make sure I'm getting clarity. You believe that once this goes to the Supreme Court in suggestion that Colorado and Maine and some of these states can't remove Trump from the ballot, you believe the Supreme Court will let Colorado and Maine's wishes stand?
I hope they do, but if they don't, then he's back on the ballot. No big deal. I mean, we'll beat him in the elections again. I don't see how that man wins in an election.
I mean, there's a lot of folks that want Trump back. I can see it possibly happening. I'm not saying it will, but there's no lack of support for Trump, huh?
I'm not like a Biden or Hillary fan.
And that's why Trump can win, is that the Democrats are not like a Biden or Kamala fan, as you just stated.
But I will vote Biden. Okay, I didn't vote for Hillary Clinton because I fell for that rhetoric. I fell for.
Who'd you vote for? Who'd you vote for in 2016?
I voted for Jill Stein, third party, so I'll never do that again.
All right, yeah.
I'm a Bernie fan. I think healthcare is a very important thing. If I go out as American and I go out and I take care of America and do my job, and I think they should take care of us in healthcare.
So you voted for Bernie, and then once Bernie didn't make it, you went Jill Stein, right?
Oh, I fell for the rhetoric. Trump would lock her up. Well, did he ever lock her up? Nope.
So looking back, because I strongly have an issue with you Bernie bros, but let me ask you this. Looking back.
I would vote for Hillary.
That's what I was going to ask. All right. Appreciate you coming in.
I'll never vote third party again. I will vote for Biden. I'll vote for Hillary. Anything to keep Trump out because I know how dangerous he is.
Yeah, you Bernie Sanders supporters owe Hillary Clinton an apology. I got to go, though.
I think we do.
Yep. All right, Common. Appreciate it. All right.
Have a good one.
You too. Tap the screen, folks. Get your boy up to 60,000. Yeah, I absolutely believe that Bernie Sanders is the reason why Hillary Clinton didn't win. I do believe that, because even Trump expected to lose in 2016. And Bernie Sanders, along Trump too. Trump obviously painted Hillary Clinton to be a villain. There's a lot of people that don't like Hillary Clinton, and you have that right to do so. But it wasn't just the Republicans that were painting Hillary Clinton to be a victim or be a villain. The Bernie Sanders people were doing it too, because a lot of them believe that Bernie Sanders should have won the Democratic nomination and the Clintons cheated them out of it. Now, there could be some possibility to that, and I'll tell you why, and I'll go right back to the box afterwards, and I'll explain the hat. Tap the screen, get your boy up to 60,000. You know what we're doing. 700 of you folks in here. I do appreciate that. You could be anywhere. Always glad to have you here. The reason the DNC, Democratic National Convention, did not favor Bernie Sanders is very similar to why the traditional Republicans do not favor President Trump. They're divisive to the party. Bernie Sanders is often at odds with the likes of the traditional Democrats. He has progressives like the Elizabeth Warrens, the AOCs, but the traditional members of the Democratic Party, the Nancy Pelosi's and Chuck Schumer's, are often at odds with Bernie Sanders. Because if Bernie Sanders had to become president, he would have counteracted a lot of the traditional Democratic values. I mean, he was claiming to be a socialist. He's not a traditional Democrat. And a lot of the traditional Democrats realized that. He would divide the party up between progressives and Democrats, which some would say is happening now anyway because he came on the scene. But they were able to squelch him so that he didn't win. Trump, on the other hand, did win. And just like Bernie Sanders, the traditional Republicans don't like him either. And that party, many would argue, is even more divided because he won than the Democrats would have been if Bernie Sanders had won. Both Bernie Sanders and Trump are not Republicans or Democrats. They just needed to access to the Democratic funds. Trump needs access to the money from the RNC, so they ran under these categories when they both should have been running under a different party. The Democrats were able to stop Bernie Sanders. The Republicans could not stop Trump. And now you have Trump trying to run again, essentially saying that virtually all traditional Republicans are traitors to this country. That's why they didn't want him on there. Just like Bernie Sanders has a lot of choice words for traditional Democrats. Trump has got in and he's now trying to push everybody out. According to Trump and Trump supporters, virtually all traditional Republicans are part of the swamp. That's why they didn't want him in there. All right, looking in the comments. It's all smoke. All parties are puppets. BlackRock and Vanguard have the strings. You're not the only one to say that. I don't submit to that, but a lot of folks believe that. Trump is the original rhino, Democratic to Republican. I don't know about the Democratic to Republican part, but if you go by the actual definition of rhino, yeah, Trump is the rhino. Republican in name only. He is a Republican in name only. He's not a Republican, but he's using that name because he needs access to the Republican funds. So even though he's calling everybody else a rhino, based on the actual definition, Trump would be the rhino. Real quick, folks asked about the hat. You know, you lean left, why the hell do you have the hat? I've said it, and for you folks who are new to the program, I strongly believe that Republicans, conservatives, and particularly MAGA do not get a fair shake in the media. The moment they start speaking, they often get banned and censored all over the damn place. So the goal here is, with my tiny ass corner of social media, is to always show, particularly MAGA, that this is a MAGA friendly program. We don't have to agree, but you damn sure have the right to speak. MAGA will always be invited here. MAGA will always be given a fair shake here, regardless if we agree or not. I believe in your right to speak and will defend it as much as I can in my tiny corner. So that's what the purpose of the hat is. Looking in the comments, where was the hat made? I don't know. I don't. It might have been made in China. I have multiple hats. I do have one that I think I have a Keep America Great hat that does say made in China. Going back to the box. Seeing Beers 723. I tried to bring him up earlier. Appreciate you holding. Beers, if it brings you up, I'll give you the floor. While that's happening, why they don't give anyone else a break? Well, I don't believe in tit for tat. I believe that's one of the fallacies of President Trump. Well, you know, folks defend Trump's tweets. Well, they were messing with him first. I don't support tit for tat. You know, I'm not going to go so far as to say Michelle Obama's when they go low, you go high. I'm not necessarily saying that, but I don't believe you need to show up to every fight you're invited to. So if you believe that MAGA would not give liberals a fair shake, and there's some legitimacy to that. I've been into some MAGA lives where my name alone got me canceled. But I don't believe in tit for tat. I do believe in free speech. China about to invade Taiwan. We have more worries than tweets. Tim, you get it yet? Brownsbacker, I don't support Armageddon politics. Anytime a liberal's running, they're going to destroy the whole damn country, if not the world. Remember Obama was going to turn us into socialist Greece? At the time, Greece had a failed economy. Now that it's Venezuela, any liberal that runs, they're going to turn us into socialist Venezuela. I don't believe that China's going to invade Taiwan because Biden is in office. Just like folks would suggest under Trump, we didn't have a lot of world conflict, and that many world leaders saw Biden as weak compared to Trump and decided to act. If that is true, they would have to look at Vladimir Putin, who used the Biden administration to go into the Ukraine, and ask themselves, do you want to be like Vladimir Putin, where you viewed President Biden as a weak leader, thought you could easily go in there and run over the Ukraine, and thanks to Biden and his support of the Ukraine, you're still fighting 2 years later? That's a weak president to you? Is there anybody that believes that Vladimir Putin thought he would still be dealing with the Ukrainians 2 years later? Weak president. That doesn't look weak to me. How many soldiers has Russia lost? How many pieces of military equipment? How much money have they lost? Oligarchs losing whole damn yachts, having their bank accounts seized. You think when they saw Biden as a weak president, they expected all of this blood and treasure to be taken away from them? You think China is looking at Biden? Now that Biden personally went to Taiwan and said on the world stage, if China invades Taiwan, the U.S. is in it with them? You see what the U.S. is doing with Israel? That man, you would suggest, has some sort of dementia, doesn't know where he's at, but he sure doesn't mind going to war. Even if you think we should get out of the wars, which I'm a big fan of. I don't like all of these wars happening. Biden doesn't look like a coward on the world stage. I would much rather have Trump in office. I would much rather have somebody, if I'm a tyrant or an evil dictator, I would much rather have a guy who's talking about we need to get out of world events and work on America first than a guy making it clear if you touch them, it's your ass. You're going to have to deal with the United States. Biden is the guy you should not want in office. You should want Trump in office if you're Putin, Xi Jinping, Kim Jong-un. You should want Trump in office because he's made it clear, I'm not going to interfere with what you do worldwide. Biden has made it clear, if China goes into Taiwan, we're down to help Taiwan. So I don't agree with the notion that the evils around the world favor a Biden presidency because he's somehow a weak leader. I don't see it. I just don't see it. Going back to the box, and I appreciate you folks tapping the screen. We're not going to get a lot of likes today because some of you folks are lazy as hell. We should be around 80,000. It's been a consistent 500 to 900 of you folks in here the whole damn hour. And I can't see the likes improving. What the hell? What does a man have to do? This is decent content, folks. Tap the screen. Going straight to Kate. Good afternoon. Welcome to the program. Unfortunately, the sun is starting to come out when it's the wrong time. You summed that up well. Thank you, Daryl. Appreciate that. Kate, good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Love your content.
Thank you. Appreciate that. Good to have you on. So what do you think? Go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Now, well, we're talking about two issues. We've had another mass casualty event, Perry, Iowa, asking the question, what can we do? Because this seems to be uniquely American, where kids are going to school and never coming home thanks to a lead salad. Also, the Trump legal team suggests that he is not even able to be a violator of the 14th Amendment because that amendment does not even apply to him. Do you see any validity in that claim?
let's start with the Trump thing.
Sure.
Okay. I would say it shouldn't apply. I'm not a Trump supporter, actually. But if he's the only one on the ballot, then I would vote for him because I'm a registered Republican. But I don't think he should be taken off the ballot at all because I find it unconstitutional. I live in California, and even our governor said that should not happen. So I don't think it should.
So when you say unconstitutional, are you saying that it's impossible for him to violate the Article 3 of the 14th Amendment?
Well, he didn't have anything to do with January 6th, so I don't see why it should be applied. And by taking him off a ballot, obviously you're limiting you're pretty much implementing kind of like no longer a democracy, a dictatorship in a way, because you're like forcing people just to vote for one candidate.
Well, no, you could Vivek or Nikki Haley. There are other people that could run, but when you say it's unconstitutional or he didn't have nothing to do with January 6th, the first question why do you think what happened on January 6th? Why do you think that happened?
Well, when we look at the mass majority of the people that were there, mostly military and former law enforcement that were there, majority, and then some pissed off Americans as well.
Pissed off in what?
Way the economy was going, and we think about the veterans and how they've been treated. So I mean,
wait, I'm going to be interrupting you some, but I'll let you finish every time. Okay. You're saying that they went into the Capitol building because they were pissed off at the economy and the treatment of veterans?
That's kind of what the notion I'm kind of getting from what I've been hearing from the January 6th, people that, what I've been hearing is why they kind of did what they did, and just kind of make a statement. When we look at a current situation, when Rashida Tlaib called for, we could call her thing instruction that she called for, where they stormed the Capitol too and demanded a ceasefire.
I mean, we could talk about the liberals. I don't mind deflecting the Black Lives Matter or something like that if you want, but but you're saying they're there because they're pissed off with the economy and the treatment of. So what is stop? Because there's a lot of folks that had signs that said "Stop the Steal." What do you think that meant?
Stop the what?
Stop the steal. What do you think that meant?
I don't know. I never saw those signs. So
you never saw any sign on January 6th that said "Stop the Steal"?
No, I didn't see those signs. I just saw the videos of the riots, and then the recent videos that the Speaker of the House let out, and then the pictures. And to me, it didn't really look like a riot. It's more so a protest to me, honestly. That went.
Do you know who Ashley Babbitt is?
Ashley Babbitt? No, I don't.
Okay. We're talking about January 6th, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Who is Ashley Babbitt? I haven't heard that name before.
Okay. What videos did you see? You said it looked like a protest. Did you see any police officers being attacked there on that day?
Yes, I did.
Is that what normally happens at a protest, where you're beating police officers?
Well, when we look at the BLM riots, but
is that what normally happens at BLM riots? They beat up police officers?
Okay, so when we look at that's
so I'm gonna say, without due respect, you seem to know more about BLM riots than you do about what happened on January. For you never to have seen a sign that says "Stop the Steal" is shocking. That's shocking.
No, I didn't, because I have not seen all the signs that were. Yeah, I'm sorry, I have not seen that.
Do you know what that phrase even means? Even if you've never seen a sign, you don't know what "Stop the Steal" means.
What does it mean?
Stop the election from being stolen.
Oh shit. Okay. Excuse my language.
What about the suggestion that the VP be hung? Did you hear any of that?
Yes, I did.
You said it was a protest. Is that what normally happens at protests? They call for the death of the vice president?
Yeah, that's bad too.
That's bad too. Okay, so we're getting somewhere. We're getting somewhere. So you do admit that's bad?
Yes, that's bad.
Why do you think they were calling for him to lose his life? Take your time. Take your time.
He went against Trump.
Against Trump, how? What did he? I mean, he was his vice president for 4 years. What did he go against Trump on where they would want to kill the guy?
Because I believe he was speaking out against Trump in the courts. I believe it was.
Speaking out against Trump in the court, saying what?
I can't remember. I honestly, for the past couple of years, I've been stopping following all the Trump stuff because I've been getting tired of all it. But
wait a minute. Hold on. Hang on a second. You stated that if Trump is on the ballot, you'd vote for him again. You don't seem to know a lot about the administration. His vice president was folks that support Trump. Hang on. Folks that support Trump were calling for the vice president to lose his life, and you don't know why.
Why?
You don't know this.
I forget the whole reason why.
Why do you want to vote for Trump? Have you forgotten that?
Well, actually, the main candidate I want is Chris Christie, to be honest.
All right, appreciate you coming on. I gotta go, Kate. Okay. I don't know what the hell that was, but Kate, you're always welcome on the program. But I don't listen. I can only handle so many twists and turns in one conversation. All right. I see the comments. I don't even know what else to say. Because Pence could have collected the signatures needed to object to count. Okay, my last caller could have said that, Coyote. Could have said that. What world are we in? All right. And by the way, folks, I see somebody follow me, Sean Payne. I do appreciate that. If you folks enjoy civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle, you should notice by now, I don't block, ban, or censor anybody for their speech. Joe Farms, yeah! Appreciate that TikTok cap. Thank you for your generosity. You should realize by now, the host, I don't block, ban, or censor anyone for their commentary, even if I vehemently disagree, like with the last caller. So if you do enjoy civilized dialogue from both sides of the aisle, without any concern of the host blocking or limiting your speech, follow the program. This is what we do here Monday through Friday. We always try to have a good time. It's never about trying to tell you how you should think. Is always about hearing what you have to say. Nevertheless, it is a lunch break live. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. I'll see you guys tomorrow. YouTube, you guys are riding with your boy. Real quick, looking in the comments as I always do at the end of the program on YouTube. Geez, you'd make a good interviewer. Well, sometimes it's not just yours truly asking the interview. Sometimes people really give you the material in real time, and that's certainly what was happening with that last caller. You can only vote for candidates we approve of. Should set off alarm bells. Yeah, that's frightening. If this was anybody else, it would not be viewed the same. I don't disagree with you at all. Tim, question, how can he win by a landslide since the Electoral College is what gets the president in? Well, Ronald Reagan won by a landslide. You know, if you get a heap of more electoral votes, you win I think, did Reagan win 49 states or something like that? He won by a landslide. Ronald Reagan is a example of somebody who won by a landslide. Just looking in the comments, see Chris said checking in from Dallas. Appreciate that. Gun owners are done with gun controllers weaponizing our sympathy to take our rights, and done with gun controllers falsely blaming people who didn't pull the trigger for the death. Well, I get it. Gun owners don't want to be blamed for shit they didn't do. Fair enough. However, in defense of those desiring to maintain and keep their firearms, you are passing laws, or you're promoting laws that allow bad people to keep guns as well. It would be like being a responsible driver fighting against red lights and speed limits. Just because you never have an accident doesn't mean the laws you're fighting for are not causing accidents to go up. That's what's happening in the gun community. You're fighting for rights that open the door for bad people to come in. It makes it a lot easier. It's a lot harder to take away a firearm for somebody who's mentally ill, because any type of legislation designed to attack the mentally ill or address the mentally ill is viewed as a gun law. And the mindset is any type of gun law is a stepping stone towards taking away all guns. So even when it comes to addressing the mentally ill, it is very hard to do that. I'll give you a quick example before I end the program. When you look at liberals and how they think we can curtail mass shootings, liberals overwhelmingly believe it's taking guns away, or at the very least limiting access to guns. Folks on the right think they're dumb as hell. I get it. We're not here to argue whether what they're doing is working or not, but that is what the liberals think you should do, is take away guns. You look in the liberal cities, they tend to have tougher gun laws. Many would argue that stuff doesn't work. That's fine. But when you hear what the right thinks will be done or should be done to curtail mass shootings, the right thinks it's dumb to take away guns to stop mass shootings. The right thinks the problem is mental health. Fair enough. Like I stated, when you look at what the liberals think the problem is, which is gun ownership, you look in their cities, you see guns being taken away. The right thinks is mental health. But when you look in right-wing areas, what are they doing to address mental health, which is what they think is the problem? Nothing. There should be mental health facilities all over the place in red states. If you think taking away guns is ridiculous and the actual problem is mental health, then damn it, show some effort to do something about mental health. And that's not happening in right-wing areas. For what I originally stated, any type of law that takes guns away or limits access to firearms is going to be viewed by the Second Amendment crowd as a stepping stone towards taking away all guns. Therefore, even though the right thinks the problem is mental health, they can't pass any laws addressing mental health because, hey, it's a gun law. We're against it. That's why you can't get anything done. It's your boy Tim, the handsome liberal. I'll see you guys tomorrow.